Before I begin, I want you to know what happens in Chapter 20 of All Stars before starting. If you do not know the story or you don't want to be spoiled, then by all means come back later. I'll link to translated versions of the stories as I find them in the description below, so if you want to learn what's going to happen, you should go and look at those first before coming here. Otherwise, I'll be spoiling what I know here so far. Alright, I'll assume the people who are still here are interested in the discussion, so let's talk about it. There's been a lot of discussion with Chapter 20 in the game that was recently released in the Japan server of the game. A lot of people have been touting the story as trash, with a lot of them being Japanese. Is the story really that bad, or just people just overreactionary? So, what is the deal here? Let's get some background here. It's important to understand the story itself and not just go off of what people are saying or how they feel, so that we're not just complaining without being informed. So Lanzhu Zhong, that name's Chinese, I'll be saying it pretty poorly a lot in this video, so just be aware. So she was introduced in Chapter 19. She's from China and she is friends with Shiriko. She's also the daughter of a chairman because, of course she is. So she wants to be a school idol, and these girls inspired her. So when she decided to come over, she wanted to be a school idol. And when she came over, she thinks the current club, well, sucks. She decides to make her own group or clique and then shuts down the current club by using her connection to the chairwoman. She also brings in professionals to improve this clique or this other group, because I guess she has the money to do so as well. So first question, isn't that kind of like an abuse of power? Like, you can't just ban out activities that are not yours, right? You can't just shut down a club without any reasonable justification. Or is this just okay and I'm not just understanding how a totalitarian chairwoman can be in their position and they can do whatever they want and break the rules as they please? Can't you just complain to higher ups or like sue? Just asking. But outside, she also recruits what people are toning them as traitors, as some people say. The three are Shiriko, Karin, and Ai. And at the end of Chapter 20, Shizuku leaves as well. So let's go over each girl and see what's going on. So Shiriko, it's pretty obvious why she would leave. She's been friends with Lanzhu for a while, so it makes sense for her to support her friend. And frankly, I think she's been friends longer with her versus the new girls at Nijigasaki, so I don't see why that's a problem. I wouldn't see that to be a problem. Most people don't. It makes sense to me, and she also does understand how Lanzhu behaves and how she can be a little over the top here, and she understands that she's quite being a jerk, but she's kind of used to that. But I figured, she could do something or say something and say, don't do that to my other friends, or at least I think they're friends. I thought Shiriko was friends with all the other girls, but maybe I'm not. But just a thought. Then we have Karin. So she's saying friendship isn't her priority. She values it, but not enough. She wants to be the best idol and model she can be. She wants to work with the pros, and Lanzhu's team provides that. As a model, Karin works with the pros, so perhaps she notices the difference between what the pros can provide and amateurs can do. The pros provide more amazing experiences. She also wants them to push each other as rivals, since rivals can push each other more than friends can. Though she cannot sing since she isn't the center, so she's kind of delegated to a backup dancer role. And you can't really shine if you're in the background. But if that is how Karin feels, fine, but I really disagree with her. I don't see this being an unreasonable direction for her to try. And well, we know Karin does have a lack of self-confidence, so perhaps maybe she feels that she can build her self-confidence by being a backup dancer with access to professional resources. Lanzhu offers the best resources that can improve who you can become. Especially after seeing Lanzhu's MV Queendom, who wouldn't be inspired by that? Queendom has all of the pizzazz of a professional idol, which makes the current club feel rather unimpressive. It's like the dark side has cookies means, except the cookies are the professional resources. For Ai Mishita, she felt that she could barely accomplish anything in the group. Maybe she felt inferior or just not good enough. but I kind of don't really understand the rest of her reasoning here. Yes, she does not have a professional team, so she might feel like she wasn't good enough with them. But I would have to disagree. If you go back to anime, isn't all that mattered was having fun and being who you can be and being with your friends? I get that feeling unprofessional sucks and you feel inadequate when you're next to them, so perhaps that's somehow more important to her? But that just feels so contradictory to the fun-loving Ai that we know. Also, she wants to make friends with Lanzhu, which is fine, as she wants to be friends with everyone. But you don't have to necessarily join her group to be your friends, and furthermore, you kind of backstab your old friends by making this move. Are you so determined to make a new friend that you're willing to hurt your current friends to do so? What happened to being idols with your friends? And that's just seems so contradictory to who Ai is. And then last we have Shizuku Osaka, and she initially wasn't sure if she wanted to join this group or stay in the old group. And that is true for multiple of the girls. But after a while at the end of the chapter, she decided to leave the group because she wanted to see the difference between the old group and the new idol group. And she hasn't made a call what she feels is better yet. And I think it is fair for her to look at both, but I'll have to wait on more info and before making a judgment on her and see which one she values more. We know what is the right decision here, but she hasn't made it, so I won't make any judgments on her yet. So now that we know more of the general plot, what is the problem here? Let's first get general reactions from the Japanese from the trailer on YouTube. The first thing I noticed from this trailer is that the very abysmal like ratio here. Like for Love Live, they usually have pretty good like ratios, but this is something that is just so extraordinarily bad for them, and it just keeps getting worse by the day. So now let's take a look at the rest of the comments here, and a lot of them are of course in Japanese. I will use Google Translate so you got a better idea of what they're understanding, but yes, the grammar is not going to be perfect. But if we go ahead and read all of these, you can start to notice a little trend here, and there's a few problems that people are generally having here. The first one that I've been noticing a lot is that they keep saying they're focusing on adding new characters and neglecting the previous characters, story-wise, so not giving enough exposure in the story, or having too much focus on one of the characters but not having enough on the other characters, so that they are lacking character development, as well as MV-wise. So a lot of people are pointing to the fact that the third MVs, we still don't technically have them in the game yet, and where is the Love You My Friend solo songs, which of course are the second solo songs like My Own Fairy Tale and Wonderland and etc. So people are like, whoa, you're focusing all this effort adding this new MV here. What happened to all the rest of Nijigasaki MVs here? The second one is a lot of flawed reasons to become traders. They're saying like, this is not fitting her personality. Why would I leave? She's talking about she wants to work at pros, but isn't she more interested in being the fun-loving self? Things such as like that. And then 3, they're adding new members, but they're usually only adding them to create more conflict and drama. So they did that with Shioriko here, and now they're doing it again, and they just keep adding more members for the sake of creating new problems, and that they can't just add a new member and be, oh, it's all fine and all. So that's just a general gist. Not every single problem stated. Some people are saying other things, and some people are saying this is fine, and people are overreacting. But that's just how they feel, so don't let that necessarily influence how you feel. Look at the story yourself and make your own judgment. For you guys, I would recommend fan translations. I know Lemon Ed on YouTube has been translating them, but it'll take some time for it to get fully translated. And not everyone is complaining. There are people who like to see Love Live try a new route with a difficult struggle here. I also asked you guys how you guys felt as well. About half of you guys think people are overreacting to this, and about a quarter of you say we'll wait and see for the rest of the story to see how it goes, and a small majority agree with this kind of general dislike or hate for the current story. So, is chapter 20 poorly written and extremely flawed and the writer should be fired like a lot of comments are calling out for? Well, I wouldn't say that. I've been reading and thinking about it for a while, and I don't see it as being as bad as a lot of people are claiming to be. Conflicts or antagonists are important to interesting plots. I don't think many of us will disagree with that. We had Nana, Shioriko, and now Lanzhu. Each implementation has been similar yet different, each one threatening to stop the other girls, but each time the stakes have gotten higher and more extreme. No, without doubt, this one is the most extreme implementation of a struggle so far in Love Live. So it is expected that people would be more reactionary to the conflict. The fact Lanzhu is banning other idol activities is extreme. Setting up a rival group? Sure, that's fine. If he doesn't like the way the current group runs, you can create another group. Competition is fine and usually encouraged. Stealing members? I think that's fine, but it does rub me and many of the others a bit in the wrong way. But if they feel like the other group's better, I think they should feel free to do that. But currently the reason for the girls leaving feel kind of flawed, maybe a bit rushed to create a conflict. I was hoping their friendships wouldn't be so shallow that they would leave in a heartbeat. I get that these girls want to improve and they want to be the best they can be. Everyone does, and everyone should shoot for that. And working with professionals seems like the best and easiest way to achieve that. I don't blame them for thinking that, because, I agree as well. They are professionals for a reason. But some things are just worth sacrificing your friendships for. There are definitely times where people will pursue opportunities over friendships. But the way they did it and how fast they did it is just rather alarming. Was your friendship so inconsequential that you pushed it aside, or just feeling that leaving the group wouldn't leave any hard feelings? Where's the loyalty? Are your memories and bonds not important enough? That's where I see some issues, and it shows what some of the girls value more than their friendships. But it's up to you to show them why they're wrong or someone else. I don't necessarily think it's wrong for the story to go down this approach. I just think they'll have to be cautious and execute the future stories well. I didn't mention that so many of these girls would just give up on the group so quickly. This isn't what I expected from them. Don't you shutting down the other activities by force? Seriously? That's where you lose me. That's what dictators do. Whether she is that because she doesn't like the other groups or she's afraid of competition, I don't know. But it's just not fair. Is it okay for it to be a story element? I guess. It seems like an abuse of power to me, but maybe it isn't. But seriously, a chairwoman just can't ban something unequally, right? One idol group is okay because her daughter is in it, but the other one isn't because her daughter isn't in it? Is this like a plot hole or something? Now, I don't have a problem with Love Live trying something more serious. In fact, I find it pretty exciting. I don't want Love Live to be all flowers and rainbows where the world has no problems. That hasn't ever been the case for any iteration, with School Out Project dealing with the school closing and Sunshine, also dealing with that. And I was also trying to deal with rivals and winning Love Live. But Nijigasaki doesn't have those plot elements, so they need some other conflict, and I think this is one of the best routes for them to explore. The issue is that it does feel a bit rushed, and the reason for the girls transferring from group to group feels a bit flawed or contradictory. I won't pretend that I understand these girls the best out there, and I don't know the future, and I'm not the writers here, so I don't know what's in store, but this honestly feels like there is some majorly flawed logic here. I don't mind there being more girls. In fact, I like there being more girls at it. I like the conflict, and this feels more exciting, but the execution feels not very well done. I like that they are taking the risk, but they have to implement the rest of the story well here, or this could mean a disaster. Maybe it's because there's a risk in this approach, and that different feel of this story makes fans uneasy, and they don't like seeing this level of drama being introduced into the image of Love Live. Now, to its detriment, the story ends in an unsatisfying spot. Imagine if the story for Love Live abruptly ended with Honoka saying she doesn't want to be an idol anymore since she accomplished saving the school. That would not have ended well. Of course, it was solved before the season ended, so no one cares anymore, but for all stars, we will have to wait. So for my approach, I think it's for the best for us to wait and see before we make our final judgments here. We don't know everything that will happen. Perhaps the girls are lying, and there is some other reason why they transferred to the groups. The conflicts can definitely give some major character development, especially for the girls who need it, and this can really help them a lot. Girls who portray the group might learn what's more special to them after this experience. Maybe they'll gain confidence and grow as characters, or the group will grow as a whole. From the biggest of trials comes the most growth. They destroy their old bonds so they can build stronger new ones. No pain, no gain. There's potential to have one of the biggest triumphs in Love Live, but again, we just don't know, so I don't agree with people being so overreactionary. I mean, it's still Love Live we're talking about here. I'm sure in the end it will have its own, my own fairy tale kind of ending. I don't really have a problem with Lanzhu, and in fact her song is really good. As for why she is getting MV so quickly, to properly introduce an important character, they should give an MV like they did with Chihiriko, although it did take her longer because she didn't want to be idle until later. But for things like Arise, which was introduced with Private Wars, that MV makes a very important statement, and Queendom perfectly illustrates her dominance over the idols in the group. Of course, many of us don't agree with her approach, but that's just how life works. You can't agree with everyone. It will be one of the biggest challenges for you and her club to show everyone else the way. Yes, Lanzhu is being a jerk, very much like Daya, Eddie, and Chihiriko were at first. Perhaps she has good justification though? She will have to make amends, but Lanzhu is just a more dramatic version of the previous girls. So eventually, it's possible everybody will eventually accept her. If we look at other anime, the antagonists have their reasons for doing something. The difference between a good and a bad antagonist is if that reason is justifiable or reasonable, and we've yet to see her true reasons. There are plenty of anime where the bad guy is just very despicable, but yet people like the story or the anime a lot. And people like Ellie and Daya today have a lot of love, so there's no reason why Lanzhu can't be one of them in the future. Nobody likes betrayal, especially when your best girl does that. It hurts, and when the reasoning feels flawed, obviously there will be some backlash. In the end, I know we are looking for the perfect end, and it's hard to see it, and when girls are switching sides, it feels like the waifus are betraying us when they leave the group. However, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Perhaps there's a good reason we don't see, or it's a good opportunity to have our girls grow from this traumatic experience. No one is perfect, and everybody will make mistakes. Maybe Mio will convince Lanzhu to stop this, or you will take her matters in her own hands. I just don't think it's fair to hate on the story just yet. Just because you don't like the story means it's poorly written. It's easy to hate, but we'll have to look at the bigger picture here. And lastly, stop being racist, guys. Just because he's Chinese has nothing to do with the story. I get the current situation we're in, but to those 1% of people, just don't be that. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this development so far and how you feel about it. I'm curious to see how the staff will respond to this, if they do at all. How will this be integrated into anime, and how will it adjust to the anime, because it's likely to change a little bit at minimum, but the question is how much. This is something we'll have to wait on for a while. I see the potential for some good moments here, but it is clear that many are unsure or even mad about the current direction of the story. I do see some issues, and I've laid them all out, but perhaps these will be addressed soon. Let me know what you guys think about the current direction, and what do you think will happen to future stories. Do you agree with a lot of criticisms, or do you disagree? Make sure you actually read the story itself before making any conclusions at the chapter, because it's not fair to make assumptions and just hate, because a lot of people like to jump on the hate train. Please respect each other's opinions, and let's have a constructive discussion. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll link to some translations of the chapters in the description below if you want to catch up or if you still are uninformed. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to catch you guys in another video soon.